What is up, my peepholes? This is your guy, Cly, and welcome back to Budget Buys. And today, I want to talk to you about dice. Wait a second, you can't actually see the dice set, so let's just get them out. Okay, you still can't quite see the dice, so I'll be right back after I take them out of the packaging. Alright, that is much better. I also needed to add the black backing because these are golden and that didn't work that well with my usual green backdrop. What we have here are a set of metal dice that, to be perfectly honest, I have been drooling over for the past few months. Now, I've been talking myself out of buying them this entire time, mainly due to the fact that metal dice in general cost a bit more than I'm allowing myself to spend on dice. Not only have I been trying to keep my dice spending habits at under $5 per set, but these days I actually make my own dice, so I have even less of a reason to buy some. However, that didn't keep me from really wanting these. If you're wondering what changed and made me cave, the simple fact is that these were provided free of charge for this video by Bangood. They came to me asking if I wanted to review anything from their website, and after digging around a bit, I came across the dice of my dreams and I just had to say yes. And I don't regret doing that in the slightest due to the fact that they have one of the best prices when it comes to these dice in particular, which I'll talk about later on in the video. Now, those of you who have watched some of my previous videos have probably figured out why I wanted these dice so badly. And for those of you who haven't figured it out yet, here's a hint. It's not because they're metal. The main reason I've been wanting these dice so badly is because these scream Fallout. And I'm a bit of a Fallout fanboy. Not only did I use a Fallout theme in my dice re-inking video, but I also repeated that theme in my DIY miniature dice bag pendant video. Heck, the mini dice set inside of that pendant were also re-inked with the same color scheme. And even the prototype dice bag that I made when designing that project has a Fallout theme. And if you want to stretch the definition a little bit, not only did I end up finding a use for that pesky pre-war currency that always ends up clogging up your inventory, I also have a set of desert-inspired dice from all the time I spent in the Mojave Wasteland. But, of course, it wasn't just the fact that these are gold and blue that makes me think Fallout. The real feature that drove the point home has to be the fact that the numbers are in tiny little gears, which makes me think vault number. And now, some of you are probably wondering how the company that makes these dice gets away with making a fake Fallout product. And the fact of the matter is, they're not. These are not designed to be Fallout dice, it's just that things kind of lined up that way. The bright gold metal with the blue enamel paint is one of the many styles that you're going to find in a lot of the more recent metal dice sets. But there are plenty of other colors available. The same thing is true when it comes to the gear dice, because most places that I've seen these popping up are selling them as steampunk dice. And on closer inspection, that makes a lot of sense due to the fact that extraneous gears are kind of the hallmark of steampunk. In fact, the D4 really drives that point home because all of the numbers are surrounding the gear as opposed to being inside of it. Also, I should point out that Bangood actually carries 12 different colors of these dice, and I just ended up going for this one because Fallout. Not only do they have the standard gold, silver, and copper dice without any of the enamel paint, they also have those same colors in a weathered version, multiple colors of enamel paint on different shades of metal, and even one that's made to look like anodized titanium with the recognizable rainbow pattern. As for the price of these dice, the weathered dice come in at $12.95, the non-weathered dice with no enamel come in at $15.95, the versions with enamel, including these right here, are $18.45, and the multicolored no enamel dice come in at $18.95. Now, these are all being shipped from the Chinese warehouse. If you want to get them from the US-based warehouse, the only one available at the moment is the multicolored set, and it comes in at $20.69. As for the shipping cost, if you're going from the Chinese warehouse, you can either go with free shipping, which has a delivery window between 25 and 40 days, or you can get the best value, which is the default $2.57 shipping, which has a delivery window of 10 to 15 days. If you're going to be getting the multicolored set from the US-based warehouse, the shipping is going to be $2.99 with a 3 to 7 day delivery window, or $17.38 for a 2 to 3 day shipping window. If you're wondering why I didn't bring up the express shipping for the Chinese warehouse, that's because it effectively has the same 10 to 15 day shipping window. These prices are about average when it comes to the low quantity wholesale sources for these dice, with the added bonus of the fact that even the free shipping with the 25 to 40 day shipping window is a much smaller shipping window than certain other places I've mentioned getting dice from in the past. Now, of course, these aren't the only metal dice I have. In fact, I have a set that's pretty much on par in design quality as some of the first metal dice sets to hit the market. However, I have to say I really dig the redesign that I guess I can call these Generation 3 metal dice have. These are Generation 1, of course, and Generation 2 has the same recessed area around the numbers, but it sticks with the really sharp points on some of the dice, and that can lead to scraping, especially on the ones without the recessed numbers. In fact, I've already had to repaint a chip on that set. Not so much here. Not only have the edges been softened a little bit, but as you can see, the tips have been truncated on all of the dice. That leads to less damage on the dice when you roll them together. Though, of course, with these being a zinc alloy, damage is bound to happen. Of course, to avoid that, I do roll all of these dice individually as opposed together. Though, if you do roll them together, they do go jingle, jangle, jingle, kind of like spurs. Now, I know at least a few of you are wondering about the weight of these dice, because I know I was when I first received them, so I went out and bought this little gram scale specifically for this video, as well as another one that just so happens to have been brought to you by Bangood yet again. More on that next week. So I've got my scale set up, I've got a nice little tray to hold all of the dice, and I already zeroed it out. So first off, let's start with a standard plastic set. This plastic set comes in at 27.3 grams, just in case my lighting is throwing off the ability to read the LCD. It's a little faint in my viewfinder, so I just wanted to make sure. Next up, let's try the metal dice. And that looks to come in at 136 grams. They're quite hefty. You know what? Now I'm curious. Let's just swap things out and only do the D20. The D20 is 30.3 grams. That is a whole 3 grams heavier than the entire plastic dice set. And because I'm curious, let's do a resin dice set while we're at it. 27.9, so that's pretty close to the mass-produced plastic dice. However, because these are a little bit larger in some cases, while the weight doesn't differ that much, that does mean that these resin dice are not as dense. That's kind of interesting. Now, because of the weight of these dice, they do roll quite well. They drop and stop. Now, this one bounced a little bit because I do still have my usual rubberized mat below my felts, but in most cases, they're just going to smack and not move anymore. Of course, due to the weight of these dice, that does mean that if you're rolling on a wooden table, you're going to be in for a bad time down the line. As such, it's probably a good idea to invest in a rolling tray so that when this happens, it's not your table taking the impact. More on how I made this later. Alternatively, you could use something like this large mouse pad because not only does it protect your table, but when you roll your metal dice, it allows them to bounce a little bit, which does away with one of the complaints I've seen people have about metal dice because they claim that the fact that they drop and stop takes away some of the excitement of rolling. And of course, the LED lighting effect around the edge is optional. And that pretty much covers it for these metal dice. Now, if you're interested in these, I'm going to go ahead and leave some affiliate links down in the description below. And I should also mention that Banggood is currently having a summer sale from July 3rd to July 24th. And on that note, until next time, this is your guy Cly, signing off.